Excuse me. Sorry.
Roy Haskell,
Sorry.
UBCIC seal, and Chaya squeeze, Stewart. In our Ensilichan language, that's simply good day, my relatives. My traditional name is Stewart. I want to begin by acknowledging the Kwantlen people and express my deep gratitude on the privilege of being on their territory. On behalf of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, I want to convey our genuine and sincere condolences and sympathies to the family for their tremendous loss. I want to take a moment to thank all the speakers who were up here before me for sharing what was in their heart and on their minds. I particularly want to thank those that were just completely and totally honest about the pain that they feel in their hearts and about the anger that goes along with that pain. I left home about 6 or 7 hours ago now. I left my children. Joan and I have been blessed with 4 boys and 2 girls. Our baby is 37 years old, and I think our oldest is around 44, 45. Both of my daughters are teachers, and our adult children blessed us with 14 grandchildren, 6 granddaughters, and 8 grandsons. And they range in age from about 2 to about 19. And I can't begin to imagine the pain of losing one of my children, one of my sons, or one of my grandsons to the brutal actions of law enforcement. I just can't comprehend how absolutely terrible that would be. Not to mention the fact that it's a well-established fact that the family learned about this through the media. And I think it's absolutely appalling that our police agencies and the media do not have the basic fundamental respect for our families, not to contact the families first. And I believe that were we not Indigenous or Native, there would be some consideration, because you always hear on the news that they don't release the name until they contact the family first. But it would appear in our case that those rules of consideration and basic respect don't apply. I want to say that we are not homeless people. We are not disposable people.
No, we're not.
We do not simply wander around in the large urban areas without family. We come from large, loving, supportive families. We come from proud communities and proud sovereign Indigenous nations. And we have a history on this land that goes back thousands upon thousands of years, long before the settlers arrived on our shores. And yet, in this day and age, there still exists an absolute disrespect for not only our people, but the contributions that we have made to the settler populations. But as can be seen here, that each and every one of us enjoy the support and love of our families and our communities and our nations. And that when there's injustice perpetrated to one of our people on Turtle Island or throughout the Americas, we all feel that injustice. We all feel that sense of outrage. We all feel that sense of hurt in our hearts as we watch the story unfold on the media. And so was the case with Navarone. Now, as I listened to the speakers, I thought, in all of my travels over the last 4 decades, 2 generations, I've never heard a cooler name than Navarone. I thought, wow, what a cool name. And it's clear that he was an exceptional, amazing young man who was not afraid of hard work and was had his whole life in front of him. I used to believe that the most beautiful word in the English language was dad or daddy, but I learned that that's not the case. The most beautiful word in the English language is grandpa. And it saddens me that, as one of our speakers said, that Navarone is not going to enjoy that birthright to be able to have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So I want to say to the family and to his friends and to our dear friends and neighbors, to our wonderful hosts, the Kwantlen people, I want to say that the Union of BC Indian Chiefs will stand with you, that we will help you, we will support you, and we will not stop until we get the answers. We will be relentless until we get the answers that the family needs. We know as Indigenous peoples, this is not an isolated incident. This is part of the systemic racism and injustice that's perpetrated against Indigenous peoples right across Turtle Island. And the list of names is long and many. As I listened to the members of the family and the speakers, I thought of Rodney Jackson, Robert Wright, Clayton Wiley, Frank Paul, Ian Bush, Greg Matters, all individuals that were shot down by the police. And that's absolutely unacceptable. That the police can just simply make that decision without any real consequences. And I know we've had extensive discussions with senior members of police agencies, and they keep talking about this so-called code of conduct. They sit across the table from us and say, well, you know, don't be worried, that individual officer is subject to a code of conduct disciplinary action, which in reality is a very cruel joke. Nothing happens. They get a couple days off. And generally speaking, when they get those days off, those few days of suspension, they're compensated. And there's no accountability. I think of John T. Williams from Seattle, who was shot down by the Seattle Police Service. He was a carver, and he just carved, and everyone in the neighborhood knew him. And he was walking home, and this police vehicle drove by, told him to stop, and shot him 4 times. I would say within 24 hours that police officer lost his job. And there was a great deal of repercussions to that officer for shooting down an innocent person the way he did. And we had a huge gathering in Seattle and a pole raising. We carried that pole from the water all the way up to where the Space Needle is, and it's uphill, and it weighed about 5 tons. And people sang, and there were hundreds of people carrying that pole to commemorate John T. Williams, because he mattered, because he was somebody's grandfather, he was somebody's father, he was somebody's uncle, he was somebody's cousin. That is who we are as Indigenous peoples. We are not nobody. We are not transients that the police can shoot down at will. And we will make damn sure that there is accountability in this case. So I want to thank all of you for being here. And I do appreciate the anger I heard when I first got here, because that's being real when our people are treated in such a harsh, brutal fashion, as is the reality of this country under the governments, the right-wing governments we have in power. So I thank each and every one of you for being here, for standing together in solidarity. I see many familiar faces around this circle, and I'm just so glad that I had the privilege and the honor of being here today to share these few moments with each and every one of you. And once again, I want to thank the Kwantlen people for being our gracious hosts. Why, Limon.